Welcome to Unlock Women. This is an episode that's brought to you by the African Bank in partnership with the Mail and Guardain. And we are doing this with Kanya Sosibo.
As well as Doric Sitole. And we're going to be talking money.
Fun times indeed. How are you
Great
doing?
times. I'm good. How was the week?
Oh, it was fantastic.
Money
It's
week
just been gems and gems about money. I think after this, we need to get PhDs.
in money.
Yes,
I
doctorate.
love that. I love that. I want to swim in money.
Yes.
I'll be swimming in money.
Yes.
Yes, and we never come just the two of us.
No.
There's always someone joining
There's
us.
always someone joining us in the studio.
Yes.
Hello. And we're saying hello to Edna Montse, who's joining us for this particular episode. And she's the Group Executive at African Bank for Transformation and Sustainability. How are you doing, Edna?
I'm good. I'm good in yourself, Doric.
Thank you so much for joining us. And it's such a pleasure to have another woman who's also coming in to drop some gems. Before we get to all of that, how we like to lay the foundation is we want to get to know you better. Get an understanding about who Edna is when it comes to her relationship with money. So let's take it back a little bit. You know, when we start off, we don't understand that childhood plays a big role when it comes to our own belief systems, our values, how we view money. So when you were growing up, what are some of the things that you picked up when it comes to money? Do you come from a family of entrepreneurs? Were you in there? Or was it different?
Well, ladies, I must say, I am blessed to come from a mixed family in terms of entrepreneurship and academia. So my father's side of the family is very entrepreneurial, and my mother's side of the family is quite academic. So, of course, both sides, there'll be a few people who dabble into entrepreneurship or academia, but largely that's kind of, how we grew up. And I think that I also then combined the two. And so grew up in rural Limpopo, Ramadikana, and then moved to Tembisa before we then moved to Midrand. So I am quite blessed in that I was able to then, live and experience rural, upbringing as well as a township and then suburban upbringing. And, as you grow, of course, you then get influenced by different people and different experiences. And so I quite quickly found that I am quite entrepreneurial. Grew up working just like any other Black child. You grow up and you think to yourself, I want to do something different. And so by the time I got to high school, I literally found myself selling discopas.
Wow.
And, in a multiracial school.
Yeah.
My second multiracial school, in fact, because before that I'd gone to rural and township schools. And I called them African Rainbow Popcorn.
Love it.
It was around, Viva Mandela time. So it made sense. Made beaded jewelry as per what my grandmother had taught me. Would bake as my maternal grandmother had taught me. So I really used these different skills, learned how to negotiate, learned how to sell even to those who you don't know. So really, I'm quite grateful for that. But I do also acknowledge that I've seen the tough times that some of the entrepreneurs in my family have gone through because of a lack of the academic part. And so the family from my mother's side played quite a significant role in getting us to understand the value of education and knowledge, and how that then becomes wisdom that you could be able to apply to both the entrepreneurship, but also, of course, just life as basic. So I really consider myself quite fortunate that I was able to then be rounded in that way.
Wow.
360.
360.
A true 360. Practical as well as the theory and put together, but also in practice. Yeah.
But I'm happy that also the Africa part has followed you, because here you are, African Bank, and you were selling amaskopas, African rainbow scopas, all those things, and the popcorns. But I think the beautiful thing also, just out of curiosity, I know you were an entrepreneur at that very young age. Were there times when you felt tempted to go in Udlileo Mali and just take a little bit and just be like, yes, I'm rich,
I'm working.
This week I
It's
made
mine.
it. I made it this week. Just how did you manage that particular stage where you're selling and you're getting money in? Were you able to save, or did you splurge a little bit?
No, look, I really saved quite a lot. So experiences that you go through in life, you could interpret them and learn from them what you choose to.
Yeah.
And so having seen how, organized purchasing and group sourcing in a way really ended up being to the detriment of, some of the entrepreneurs in my family, because they would buy almost kind of singularly and say, I am buying for my trade market, or I am buying for my grocer store in the rural area. And so when they purchase, it's a one to the entity, the organization. So they're a single buyer to a big corporate. And so when they would buy, so we used to have like 80 kilogram maize meals that we would sell. And I remember when, one of our relatives, had bought quite a lot of stock, and every time that was a year end, when we had the stock files paying out and so forth, they would really sell out. But things started turning when I suppose we started getting other people moving into the area and starting to organize themselves differently. Other entrepreneurs saying, how do we organize ourselves and start to have what we call purchasing power? So when we go to a specific corporate that sells the maize meal, we are no longer placing an order for 100 bags. We are now placing an order for 1,000 bags, which means that the discount that you're able to then get as that buying group is much greater than the person who's coming to just purchase only 100 bags. That then translates into a saving that you can be able to give to the customer, which means that if you open shop somewhere, down the road from my relatives, for example, who would price at a certain price point because they couldn't get that discount, you then are able to price below them and start to then attract people because of that, discounted rate that you're providing. And so once that happens, more frequently, then you find that, you quickly take your competitor out of business, in which case it was my relatives.
Yeah.
And so I learned very quickly the art and the value of saving. And so I really am not one who just spends. I live below my means, and I make that a deliberate thing. And I because of the fact that I saw millionaires in my family lose those millions, and so that really imparted in me, I suppose, the knowledge and experience from the observation, but also the pain that you feel to say the success of somebody is limited by their access to knowledge, because they did the best that they could do with what they knew. And so if they didn't understand the concept of purchasing power, then of course they couldn't then be able to say, well, there's a couple of us who are entrepreneurs in the family. How do we club together to be able to then purchase as a bigger group and therefore, get that discount? They also then of course didn't understand so much the art of selling in terms of bundling relevant foods or goods that people were buying together. So how would you bundle your oil together with your flour, together with the sugar and your yeast, so that a person can then make bread, dumpling, magwinya, which is what we as Black families know. So they couldn't then have what we now know as sales, because we didn't know that there was something called, it's a 50% sale or 25% sale. They didn't have access to that. And so that lack of exposure, that lack of the knowledge then meant that they were on the back foot. And so I've always kind of had a fear at the back of my mind that has said to me, you are one, and I share this with my sisters as well. We share the same fear, which says you're really one bad decision away from poverty. So you could think that, you will never reach below the poverty line, but you're really one bad decision from poverty. And so it's a series of decisions that then transitions you from poverty to affluence, as a Dr. Sam Motsunyane would say. And so I've always been quite particular. Of course, as you grow, you learn more. But there was times where my mom tells stories of how I would plant money, because, of course, growing up, I didn't know English and so forth.
Frozen trees.
Exactly.
Frozen trees.
So by the time I learned English, it was Saturday school English.
Yeah.
And so that Saturday school English, you just catch, what you catch there.
Yes.
And so you wouldn't have understood the idioms and so forth. When a person says money grows on trees, you think to yourself, really?
Wow.
I'm going to go plant it.
Say less.
Say less, exactly.
So you took it literally as well.
I took it literally. I went and planted. And of course, it never grew. And so it was only when the last born in our family, my younger sister, revealed to my mother how she had been picking up every time it rains. she picks up coins and notes and so forth, and she just feels like, listen, she's blessed with rain. Meanwhile,
you are the rain. You're really in there.
And so it was only when my mom connected the dots to say, oh my gosh, my one daughter is planting, the other is harvesting.
Love it for her.
So I really, then I graduated to putting money in the Bible with a note that said, God will punish you if you steal my money.
Oh, that it came with a threat. Oh, wow.
Yeah, savings. Talk about a savings.
I thought it was a prayer to say, God, give me more. I've just added something in here.
It was just to say, I'm building and saving on what I've got. And it really speaks to even some aspects of today's life where we've got those South Africans who are underbanked and underserved, which is what we as African Bank want to answer to. So you find that, you do the best with what you know and what you can, and what you have. But sometimes it's not enough. And so we do need to have those who know better, who are more exposed, to help us to just open, our worldview and open our kind of knowledge base a lot more.
Yeah, sure. You've said a mouthful, but I'm here for the money grows on trees. And I'm here for
money.
And the practicality of it. Yeah. I mean, it made sense. And for me, it reveals how your mind works, which I think is such an interesting thing, because sometimes we do need to think differently when we engage money, when we engage our relationships with money. But just touching back on your family and the part of your family that were entrepreneurs, and looking, as you said, the experience that you lived, through them, with them, and then moving us to 2023 and the work that you do. And I want to speak in particular to women entrepreneurs, because there are some things that are just unique to women entrepreneurs. If you could share and highlight what are some of those challenges when it comes to them, as you said, you had a thinking of, I want to save more because of what I've seen. Most people, they think I've made the money, as Doric alluded, which means I can spend it. And a lot of South Africans go into business out of necessity and not because out of innovation. So what are some of the things that you've picked up and you're like, this is a golden thread and I'm seeing this come up over and over again?
Sure. I mean, where to start? There's quite a couple of things. So the entrepreneurs in my family, coincidentally, majority of them were women. And they approached money and approached business differently. And I was privileged that I worked for a number of them. So during school holidays, nowadays you have people who fly to whatever coast, others who go overseas and so forth. And then, of course, most of us, we went to go and visit Gogo.
I was about to say, we got Gogo. That's the holiday.
That's the holiday. We go to Gogo. And so, there's not much toys and entertainment and so forth. So I consider myself a doer. So I'm a thinker, but I'm also quite a doer. So I didn't want to just sit and get holidays and just play. And so I started to actually work with the, my relatives, especially the females. And so I realized, so I worked with one more than the other. And the approaches were quite different. So one that was common amongst them is that women are almost naturally hard workers. But hard workers to the point where they don't even realize when they're overstretched, when they're approaching burnout, and when they are in too deep in a situation. And that was a common thing with them. The other thing that I found common was, they found it difficult to be able to ask for help. Because in part they felt that they perhaps didn't deserve the help. But others, I'm reminded of one particular one who felt that, well, she can do it and she's gotten this far. She's reached millionaire status, therefore what can anybody teach her? But the others were really from a point of lack of self-confidence, and perhaps also from a lack of fear of what will this say about me when so many others are looking up to me.
Okay.
So as women, sometimes we think that we have to have it all put together. Yeah. And that we can't show cracks. Because if we show cracks, and this is the dichotomy. So we are expected to, in a sense, have people look up to us and take that on as leaders. Because as women, we are almost bred and reared to lead the household, which means you are raising children, you are, supporting, if there's a male figure, you're supporting that male figure, you're ensuring that you create a conducive environment for them to be and to grow and to achieve. However, we are not taught to take care of self first.
To nurture here.
And to nurture here.
Yeah.
And so I found that, there were those commonalities, right? What I found is some of the interesting differences. So the one that I say, felt that she knew it all. When I had learned, because now when I started going to what we called multiracials or Model C, we then did business economics. We didn't have business economics before in township and rural. I didn't have business economics growing up. But when I reached that level where now I'm going to multiracial, I hear about business economics. And when you hear about business economics, you get told about how to do things better, sales, location,
Scaling.
Products, scaling. You hear all these things, of course, at varying degrees, because I was still quite a junior at that point. But I then, in my eagerness, wanted to apply this knowledge and figure out, no, man, I read about this and this individual in the book. Therefore, I'm going to then put it to work. So in the one part, with the one who believed she knew everything, it was very difficult.
Yeah.
And instead, the part she employed was she would want me to come through on holidays, because what she had understood was in the rural village, there was this fascination with people who spoke English. So I've never had that English accent that said, woo, what. I've never had that. My accent is the same whether I switch from English or Sepedi. So I'm saying in terms of I don't have a sound that says I roll my tongue, or it's just not, But the fact that I spoke English attracted customers. And so what I've always been good with is people. And so therefore, once I get them in the shop, you will leave there with something. And so her sales shot up. But it was just because she was taking advantage of the Saturday school English. But the Saturday school English can only get you so far.
Yeah.
She didn't want what I had learned in the school part, in the school curriculum. When I then moved the next holiday to the other female relative, she actually openly said, no, listen, I hear that these are the schools you're going to. Can you start implementing and teaching? So she openly asked me for that. Whereas the other one had rejected me, and I thought, let me keep quiet. So as I'm rotating, I'm surprised this one is asking, me to say, no, man, try it out. Tell us what to do, because now you are schooling with white people. Maybe there's something that they know that we don't know. And so I started putting together the bundles, as I say, to say, if you just take your price down by 50 cents or whatever, people are attracted to the fact that it's not 20 rand. It's 19 rand 50. They see the 19, And even today, if you think, when you see sales
behind prices,
hey, when
psychology behind prices,
exactly,
people, yes.
Exactly. You see 19 rand 99. You go to the shop with 19 rand. Eish, we know ourselves. We forget that they're gonna say you are shorter. You actually in the 20 rand, they can give you 1 cent back. And so she was willing to really, let me play around and explore. And her sales shot up because of that, not because of the Saturday school English. She also then, when she was saying to me, no, when we are, because they then started to go for what is the equivalent of SASA today, we had then worked on a strategy to say, go to where the payout points are and go there with a bucket, go there with a book. And then those young children, the family who could write, they then write the name of whoever it is. And of course, we'll say, no man, Kekoko Mama Mamang lives by that side of the water or whatever, So then they don't have to worry about bringing a wheelbarrow to carry.
You deliver.
They get to the pay point, they buy, you are getting them where the money is fresh. And then you convince them to say, let me help you with your grocer for the December period, for example, so that you don't have to still spend money on transport to go and buy. I will deliver. And so she took that on. She got a bakkie and did it, and sales shot up.
Yeah.
We started really talking about advertising and marketing. And so, when I learned about that, we would speak even at churches and say, no, we're going to be selling this and that and whatnot. And so if you buy this, because we send, growing up, you would be as a child sent to the shops.
Yeah.
So the child has to choose which shop. Because even if the parent says, go to shop yes Van, but the child can say, no, that loaf of bread you want, I didn't find it there. Then they found it somewhere else. So then it means that you then entice the child. And so how do you then say, if you come and buy from our shop, we give you a sweet as a parcela. So then we attract the kids.
Yeah.
So you find that there are these mechanisms that she was willing to use. She was willing to say, because now I know how to braid hair, she's willing to let me have on the side of her shop a little, chair and thing that I could braid people's hair while also, attracting people and so forth. So you have to open your mind up to new ideas. As a result of that, she actually lasted longer in business. The part that took her out was only the existence of the group purchase, the power, the purchasing power, as opposed to, and even with the purchasing power, she gave them a good fight for their money. But the other one went out of business quite quickly because there were other aspects that they didn't employ.
And is this in your work now? Do you find that with the women that you work with, some of those things are there's still tidbits coming up? And with that, then I want us to just kind of segue to what are some of the solutions, that we've come up with, because and for me, the beauty of our conversation today is because for you, it is a lived experience. So you're not just speaking about, they said in that book, when supply is low, demand goes up. It's not just you singing a theorem, but it's something that you've lived. So with the entrepreneurs today that you've engaged with, that come across, who happen to be women, do some of them struggle to pivot because this is what I went into business for? And for those who do struggle, how do you assist them and say to them, we hear you and we're not removing you from your vision, but receive the help, receive the assistance, receive the augmentation that we can give to you?
So we started a program at African Bank. It's an enterprise and supply development program, right? And we piloted it for the first time FY22. So, pardon me, that's last year, 2022. We co-created this program with an organization called 22 on Sloan. And they are the headquarters of the Global Entrepreneurship Network in Africa. And we particularly chose them because of some of the linkages that they could create for us to help these entrepreneurs. In comprising the pilot group, we were very cognizant of the fact that we wanted diversity. So even diversity of age. So we've got people over the age of 60 who are part of the program.
Yeah.
We have got quite a strong focus on women. But the strange thing is we had to actually follow after the women entrepreneurs more to get them into the program than our male counterparts. So we explained the benefits of the program, that we created it for varying degrees of maturity in entrepreneurship. And so whether you considered yourself a startup, and there were some women who considered themselves really a startup as if they're in survivalist mode. But meanwhile, when we assess, we think, how, girl? No, you don't realize you are making the pots.
You're making the pots to happen.
You're making the pots to happen. But yet, when we look at ourselves, we think to ourselves, no, I'm
still
not
a startup.
worthy.
20 years later, it's a startup.
Yes, I'm not worthy. And meanwhile, here are people knocking on your doors as prospective clients saying, we want to do business with you because we like what you're doing.
The confidence issue.
And so it's the confidence issue, It's the issue of saying, oh no, but I can't really, make time to do this. I've got so much more, which is a real valid thing. I've got so much more on my plate that I need to juggle. And so how do I put myself as priority on that list of priorities that I've already put there?
Yeah.
So it was really quite fascinating for me that the ones that we struggled the most to get into the program were actually the female entrepreneurs. It was the women. We also then, when we were going through the program, found that they had higher periods of disengaging from the program.
Wow.
And they were disengaging not because they didn't find it interesting or relevant. They were disengaging because at various levels they found it too intimidating to say the work that must be done. So we go through what we call a business canvas, and we say, what are you wanting to achieve? What problem are you solving for? What is the why of your business? Why are you existing? What do you foresee as your future? You really, pricing model, the product that you really start to think about, how do you even set up your business? Is it set up in the most optimal fashion? And so they would get disengaged at various points because of the fact that it was a bit intimidating for them. To start to really consider that they must think of this business as something worth investing their all in. The other aspects of disengagement was as a result of the busyness, because they were just delivering or putting out fires. We were struggling to delegate. So they were struggling to say, the person who I've been working with, or the team I've been working with for how many ever years, they can do even without me for just at least one day a week. So that I can be able to be in the mentorship session, get my coach working with me, or get knowledge and wisdom, or share with the other entrepreneurs on the program. So I find that we still do have that. Interestingly though, the guys who back themselves, guys, our male entrepreneurs, they could rub off on us. Like they back themselves. They back themselves. And the other part of it, when you think about it, as an African woman, we are raised to serve. We are not raised to be served. So you feel uncomfortable when others are doing for you, for your benefit. It's like we have to consciously remind ourselves it doesn't come naturally. Whereas our male counterparts, it's the opposite. It's like, how? Are you not supposed to be serving me? Can't you then?
They actually
What more can you give me?
Yes.
What more?
Yes, and they deserve it.
Even their sitting positions are different. When they walk into a room, they make themselves very comfortable.
No, they own it. They own it. Now you want to check first. What is the etiquette? I can't just sit. I can't just do this. I can't, They ask when we were saying to them, pitch, tell us what you're going to do, because we then added on a grant component that said, we're giving you free money to help your business. The ladies were now thinking, but it might be too much to ask for this. They had to be pushed by our implementation partners to say, you said this when we were describing what your business is about and your business canvas. Why don't you translate that into your ask to African Bank? Our male counterparts didn't hold themselves back.
More than they needed.
No, listen.
Extra. It's always extra. There's a markup.
They were within the money pot. They were within. Right now we were thinking,
is it too much?
Is it too much? Maybe it's too soon. What if I get the money and I don't do the right thing, and so forth? And I am so proud of them. They have done so well. They have gone on a personal journey themselves as well. And as a result of that, we have now started a women's entrepreneurship development program that is really quite focused on only female entrepreneurs, and we're piloting it. We were supposed to start in 2024. We've actually now started it in May of this year. And it's because we realize that these women out there are really, they are doing amazing things. And they don't only think about, what I like. They don't only think about, I'm selling a product. They actually link it to social impact.
Yes.
So they think around, there's a team of ladies who make honey. But how they make this honey is that they go to villages that are on the borders of elephant or areas that have got many elephants, and they work with the villagers, and they say, well, we'll put up kind of a bee facilities at the edge instead of fencing the whole area, because that will be too expensive. The elephants are afraid of the bees. The bees bring the honey. The villagers are taught to then harvest that honey, and they then take that honey, buy it from the villagers, and then bring it as raw honey into our shelves. So they are having that impact on conservation of elephants. So the villagers now no longer have to fight with elephants and kill them. Villagers have now been provided with jobs and employment that's meaningful. Villagers then, of course, also then are able to contribute to the economy through the provision of honey. So I really am quite proud of them. I think, though, that we still have quite a distance to go. And I do wish, I suppose, if there was one thing for women, it is that we give confidence to one another. And we celebrate one another, and we allow others to shine, even when it's not our turn to shine, without feeling as though they don't deserve just because you wanted to be the one to shine at that point.
I love that.
That's what I wish for us.
I love that you've said that, because we are wrapping up the month of July and we're going into the month of August. and we are going into a lot of focus and a lot of, I think this is the time when women in August, they should be doing it all year round, but in August, that's when they allow the help to come. So as a woman entrepreneur who is watching this podcast, who is now fired up because they've heard you speak and they're thinking, look, this could be for me. I'm ready. I've got the courage. Well, you know what? I've got the audacity to believe. And, where do they find you? How do they get involved with such a program? Yeah.
Reach out to African Bank, ladies. Reach out to African Bank. We are waiting to assist you. We want to serve you. We are the bank for the people, by the people, serving the people. And you are a priority for us. We in Women's Month are going to have a series of African Bank Women in Conversations around the country. For the first time, it's actually going to be nationwide. Wow. And we have made a deliberate decision to actually include women entrepreneurs in these conversations so that they start to engage with one another and we can be able to get re-energized. I would implore them to reach out to us through our website, through African Bank branches, because through our business banking division, we are funding women. We actually are funding women, but we are going beyond funding women. Through our enterprise and supply development division, what we are doing is actually saying, where we see that you need some assistance, where can we assist you with that step up, with that leg up, to be able to take you to the next level. But you won't know what we can do for you if you don't reach out to us. We are literally an app away. It's free to download our app. We are an app away. Contact us. We are on the website. Contact us. We've got our telephone numbers everywhere on digital platforms. Contact us. We've got our branches. Contact us. Get in touch so that we can be able to serve you, because that is the desire that we've got. And when I think around, the heritage and the foundation of African Bank and the formation thereof, one of the women who was there in 1964 when NEFCOC had the inaugural conference in Soweto and was looking at how do we ensure that entrepreneurs, Black women and Black men from all over the country could be able to really, be assisted, supported by financial services providers. One of them was the mother of our former president, Thabo Mbeki. So it's not as though we as women were not even in the height of apartheid in 1964 trying to solution. We were there. Yeah. We were there solutioning. We just need to be able to believe in ourselves and reach out to those who want to work the journey with us. Yeah. And that is African Bank.
Ladies, make sure if you're hearing us, if you are in business, and gentlemen, you too, if you know that you are close to a female entrepreneur and I like what they've been doing and they just simply need that boost, this is the opportunity. And why not start in the month of August for you to get served? I think we've had a great one, Dark.
Amazing indeed. And we're saying thank you to you, Edna. And if you're not familiar with the work that's being done, please remember to visit the website on www.africanbank.co.za. And we were chatting to Edna Montse, who is our group exec for transformation and sustainability. And this is us saying thank you as Unlock Women until we meet again.
Yes. So we were talking, as we always do, about money with Dorik Sithole
and Kanya Sosibo. Take care.
Take care.